app, HD2 Northport, and W265CG Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And that, I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it, and our running back coach didn't take the biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by MaX Sports. That's Martin and Xavier Sports. We're glad to be live, local, and ready to get things going with you on this Thursday morning. Glad that you've chosen to make us a part of your morning routine. Get out there, get up, and Adam, give us a call, 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. That is the Alabama One hotline. We're live, local, ready to get things going. You can also join us on chat on the various social media outlets by putting your thoughts and comments in there in this new age of radio and online live streaming. We have several ways for you to connect. The Martin Houston Show at Martin Houston 35. The Martin Houston 35, X and O Sports, amongst others. If you add your thoughts, your comments, your questions, we'll work them into the program. You can like, follow, share, and support via the online avenues as well. Just click the QR code. It'll take you to the donation site and just support as you feel led to do so. We appreciate it. Whether it be through your comments, through your likes, through your shares, through your follows, or through your finances. We appreciate you being a part of the show. Remember that this is the Martin Houston Show, and it's the Sound of Bama Sports, your show, your team, and we do it every Monday through Friday from 6 to 7. Trusting in the Lord always, and he'll direct your path. This is a day that he has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. It takes time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. It is Passion Week, Holy Week, and so I want to take a chance to invite you to join us at Harvest Church on Sunday at 10 a.m. If you can't be at Harvest Church, man, find yourself somewhere in church this Sunday as we celebrate the resurrection of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So, but we'd love to have you at Harvest, where we're loving God and loving people. Good morning, X. How you doing, sir?
Good morning. Doing well. How are you?
Doing well. Appreciate you and Joe jumping up yesterday and hitting a good stride there yesterday. Had some interesting comments. We may circle back on a little bit of that and pick up a little bit of that conversation today. And but it made me think about a couple of other potential topics to get to. So we'll work that all in. I kind of have on the playbook open up for today, talk a little bit more spring football. We really haven't gotten into this who we think is gonna replace Will Anderson, who we think is gonna be the breakout a player this spring. You guys, like I said, touched on it a little bit. we haven't really talked about whether we're concerned or not with Bama hoops. We've talked around it, but you know, and what's behind? I had someone else. None. This was interesting. None Alabama. You know, like alumni. They like watching Alabama basketball, but they're not. You know, like we are. We're not just. You know, we're fans. We want to see Alabama. They enjoy watching basketball, and they live here, so they enjoy watching Alabama. But they had a different perspective on what's going on with Bradley and others. Said that they think some of these guys may be leaving because of what happened with the Brandon Miller story, even though it looks like Brandon Miller and others are going to be, vindicated. It still doesn't change the labeling. And so I thought it was an interesting take. So we can talk about that and whether or not we feel like that's part of what's leading to some of the uh, departures in Tuscaloosa or considering departing from Tuscaloosa, and definitely not last or least. We definitely going to talk some recruiting with Hank South, and I don't know if you saw the numbers, the report yet, but it's kind of crazy to think Kirby Smart over the last 6 years. Y'all know how much more money he spent on recruiting than Nick Saban?
No, I didn't see that.
$5 million more dollars. He almost doubled what Alabama did last year, and Alabama still had the number one class. And over that 5-year period, Saban has had more number one classes. So the question that begs, if Satan, I sound like some of those other fans from a few years back. If Saban X has been out recruiting him, overall for the last 6 years, couple questions that we can start talking about, and then we can circle back on some of these other topics. Does that really point out how important coaching is in development of players? And that's been Bama's problem. The Pete Golding, um, we had who we had from offense coordinators standpoint over the last 6 years. Huh?
6 years goes back to what, 17?
Yeah. You had
Dayball, Oxley,
and
Sarkisian,
and O'Brien.
right.
Okay, so does that, fact that despite spending less money, Saban has outspent. I mean, Kirby has outspent him by $5 million. But Alabama's had more number one classes during that time, and either everybody pulled away with one coaching staff, which I think we've been saying that there's been some concerns around our.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I definitely think it does. When you're talking about that from that aspect, I mean, if we're, or actually, you know what, I think it shows you the consistency because there hasn't been a lot of turnover in Georgia. That might be the biggest thing. So you've had maybe not the number one class, but you're still talking top 5 classes every year, top 3 classes, and you have the consistency of one head coach, one OC, one DC, and a lot of the same position coaches, and that creates continuity. And that's the biggest thing, especially in college sports, because you do have so much turnover with graduation and transfers.
Well, and you look at it from that standpoint, though, Saban's been dealing with this turnover thing from his staff standpoint, and he's been able to overcome it, right? So you remember what we said so long about Dabo? Dabo's in an adjustment period, right? Because he finally lost staff. Well, is Kirby going to have some of that potentially this year as You know, he didn't get over the hump till he got Monken. You know what I mean? Like Kirby offensively struggled until he got Monken in the last couple of years. And now he's going back to a guy who in the SEC hasn't been great, in Bobo, who hasn't been a great offensive coordinator in my opinion. But maybe he's learned some things. We saw what happened with Dabo. Will that same thing happen with Kirby? Because Saban has proven that he can go through different coaches and eventually respond. The only frustration I have with Saban and Aiden, like to get your thoughts on it, and then you respond, X, is did Saban stay too long with Pete Golding, and also even did he compromise in hiring Bill O'Brien? And now you have these of the guys we've had, Sarkisian. I don't think Loxley was here long enough to have done too much developing. But Sarkisian, I think, developed a quarterback, but did he develop anything else? You take the pro aspect of hiring guys, starting with Dayball. Has that hurt Alabama's offensive development, but helped our quarterback, but hurt the overall offensive development of our team?
Well, I mean, Martin, when you look at this past hiring cycle, Nick Saban didn't really get a lot of choice in replacing his defensive coordinator. He wanted to keep Pete around. You hear that from Ryan Fowler and some of his sources quite a bit. And, it seems like he was reaching towards the bottom of the barrel of his choices of offensive candidates. So, I mean, could you say that maybe he settled for Bill O'Brien and maybe settled for Pete Golding? Maybe, but did he get much of a choice in the matter? I mean, did people want to come work for him? I mean, eventually you get to a point in your life as a grown man where you're not really game to be barked at all day at work by your supervisor, no matter how good at his job he is. And I feel like maybe you're starting to see a little bit of that effect. But maybe it's been a detriment to the system as a whole. I don't think too badly though, because we're still competing in the top four every year.
Well, I'll say this: if you can't handle a Knicks, I'll tell you this: I'll take a lot more barking and chewing from the guy that's the best at his profession and is considered the greatest, than than a coach talking nice or a boss talking nice to me that is mid tier. I mean, I'll say I'll take that, but I mean, yeah, it could be that, but I think he did hold on to Pete too long. I think in the beginning he didn't even want Pete. Pete wasn't going to be his guy, and the issues with Tosh, I can't remember how you say his last name, Lapoy, Tosh Lapoy, all that happened, and then he kind of got Pete and was like, "Well, I can groom Pete and make Pete into," and Pete just couldn't get it going, couldn't live up to the expectations. I mean, you're talking about the talent that has been on this Alabama defense, because you're still having 1, 2, 3 guys go in the first round every year off of this defense, but you weren't getting the results on the field. So that tells you the talent's there because these guys are going to the NFL and becoming superstars. What was the issue? And the issue is the coaching.
Yeah.
Maybe he did settle on those guys.
Well, first of all, I think NFL guys do not develop players, okay? They do not develop players, and we had 2 quarterback coaches, okay? That's it. Had 2 quarterback coaches in Dayball and Bill O'Brien. I think Sark developed, quarterbacks. I don't think Bryce Young got any better under Bill O'Brien's coaching than he would have been under my coaching. He just, I mean, where did Bryce Young improve from what we expected of Bryce Young? His natural ability worked out. But when you look at it, here's the other thing about Pete Golden. Pete was not intended to be the guy. Then Pete became the guy, and then Coach Saban almost like, I think he was trying to say, I don't want to have to make this change again. So he tried to hold on to him too long. But why didn't he make this move with a young Pete Golden that he's giving a veteran in Steele? He's allowing Steele just to coach. I mean, think about what we had. We had 2 defensive back coaches last year. And for the last few years, why? Yeah. That didn't used to be. That hadn't always been the case. You see what I'm saying? Why did all of a sudden DBs have to have 2 safeties and corners versus letting Pete step off? I mean, still think about how hard it was. Pete was trying to learn how to run a defense and call a defense and adjust and correct his players and all of that all at the same time. And he wasn't – you remember all those communication issues we had early on with Pete? Then he starts getting the play, but he still couldn't coach his position because between plays, what was he having to do? Call plays. And he's not the only one to do that. But in this hurry-up style offense, I think Saban finally realized that coordinator probably needs to be focused on getting the next play, not on coaching a position. That's just my thoughts on that. But I think overall coaching has hurt when we've gotten the talent we've had. And I mean, you're wrong. We have third world problems here in Tuscaloosa. We are talking about guys, we're talking about not 2 seconds from being, in the playoffs again and all of that stuff. I get that. But what's our standard? What do we want to play to? What do we expect to play? That's the thing. And then back to one last thing, we'll get the break and come back on the other side. One last thing on something Aiden said. It's not everybody not everybody gets in this thing just for championships. Some get into it for the money. Some get into it for the ministry mentoring aspect. I couldn't work for Saban, and I'm driven, and I'm competitive. And I have been blessed to be successful in whatever I do, but I would not work for him. Not at all. My family is too important to me, and he does not give room for that. And to Aiden's point, listen, when you were my coach, fine. I was on your team. I couldn't go anywhere else. And you could yell at me, and man, I would have responded and all that. But I'd be doggone if I want to spend the next whatever number of years of my life when I could go work for a Dabo Sweeney who does raise his voice, but has a totally different approach that fits my style more. You see what I'm saying? So Saban's style is not the only way to do it. And to Aiden's point, these young people now, Pete Golding left Tuscaloosa, guys. How much is he making, Aiden, over in Ole Miss?
I don't know the exact number, but it's less.
$2 million
offered.
He doubled his pay, and he's coaching for who? Lane Kiffin. Do you think? Hey, listen. If he wants to get championships, maybe. But you know what? Pete Golding is less than 40 years old. Let's say Pete Golding goes over and works over there for 10 years. He's still going to be younger than Saban was when he came here. He still has 20-something years to get back to that, and now his kids are grown. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot more to it than just that. And I think that pool of who's willing to come for the money has changed because other people can offer the money and the opportunity and the exposure and the experience that these guys can get to the next level without having to come through just Tuscaloosa. So I think coaching is important, and I hope Tommy Rees, as a young guy, and Kevin Steele as an old guy, can raise the development level. Remember those KPIs we talked about? The one that we would all probably give a below average grade would be player development over the last 5 or 6 years. And this recruiting number shows that, as Alabama spent just over $2 million, and Kirby Smart spent over $4 million, and we had the number 1 class. Now can we develop them into the number 1 team? We'll watch it this spring. We'll keep talking about it. You can join the conversation, 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline with Martin and Xavier on Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks. Everything pretty quiet on the roadways in this Thursday morning. Of course, if you do see conditions, please give me a call, 205-886-8886. Townsend Nissan is paying top dollar for your current car, truck, or SUV because the values are all-time high. The Save-A-thon is underway, and BJ's making deals at Townsend Nissan. I'm Captain Ray.
Stephen Mesrano wins. The Mesrano law firm recently obtained a $7 million settlement for an injured client. He'll win for you 205-800-8000. 205-800-8000. Stephen Mesrano.
Legendary comedian Jeff Foxworthy, The Good Old Days Tour.
But they have a rule in my neighborhood. If you walk your dog and your dog does his business in somebody else's yard, you need to get a little plastic bag, pick it up, and dispose of it. So you drive through my neighborhood and there's all these attractive women walking around with poo-poo purses.
Saturday, June 3rd, Pearl River Resort Silver Star Convention Center. Tickets on sale now at pearlriverresort.com.
Drowning in IRS debt? If you can't afford to pay your IRS debt due to economic hardship, you can now be free of IRS collection efforts by taking advantage of a special IRS tax hardship program. This program allows Americans who owe the IRS to resolve their delinquent tax debt once and for all. In some cases, maybe even reducing what you owe significantly. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Simply dial 800-613-8725 if you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back or have years of unfiled tax returns. Help is standing by. Just call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-613-8725 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 800-613-8725 to see if you qualify. That's 800-613-8725.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky mostly cloudy today, a chance of showers, maybe a thunderstorm in spots, the high 76. For tonight and tomorrow, cloudy with occasional rain. Tonight's low 57, the high tomorrow 71. Cool Saturday, rain at times, the high 64. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 62 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Softmark Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at softmarkdesign.com.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right. Welcome back in to the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. Go check out Alabama One. There's so much going on at Alabama One. We appreciate all your support. We are so involved with our community and so glad to serve to serve it. And one of the ways we do that is through our Alabama One Aspire Foundation. We have some great projects and programs that we offer, from financial wellness to getting into the schools, supporting our local nonprofits, providing free conferences. But our biggest event, our flagship event that we have, is our One Community 2023 golf tournament. We're looking for sponsors and players. You can support by sponsoring Alabama One Foundation. By supporting the golf tournament, you actually support all the other events and get promoted through them as well. So Bridge Builders Golf Tournament, Bridge Builders Luncheon, Builders Award, all of our various other activities. So go to alabamaonefoundation.org. That's alabamaonefoundation.org, and find out more about the golf tournament coming up in June, but also about all the other great opportunities you have to help us continue to support what's happening in our community. A portion of every dollar helps support financial wellness in schools, as well as all the other activities happening through Alabama One. All right, we're back, X, and it is interesting how everybody went off on the Ja'Cory Brooks catch, right? I just retweeted. I should have tagged you on it, but I just retweeted a block clip from Alabama practice. The one hand pancake that happened. I don't know if you've seen that clip or not, but yeah. See, that gets me a lot more excited than the catch, right? Watching this Alabama offensive line get big, mean, and nasty, and to me, if Alabama's gonna reascend to the top of the mountain, it's going to start with our offensive line. And I know you guys. Go ahead.
Yes. No, I was just agreeing with you, especially when you're talking about Miles McVay. You know, he's one of the freshmen. Last night, I had a late night run the Target for some stuff for the family, and I saw Wilkin Formby, Caden Proctor, and Alaus Aileen. These are 18-year-olds, barely 18-year-olds, who should be in their final months of their senior year of high school. Getting ready to go to prom. And these guys, like, all three of them, mountains. And I've known Wilkin for a long time, but you can already tell he's probably put on 20 to 25 pounds since he's been at Bama. Proctor is getting sculpted, and Aileen is the smallest of the three of them, and he's still 6'5", 315, 320. Like, the guys that Wolford is recruiting for this offensive line are just absolute giants across the board.
I saw all three of them in the Target last night at the self-checkout, and yes, they just like it doesn't matter. You can be the biggest person in the Target. You feel like a midget standing next to them or anywhere near them.
Hey, Aiden, we were at Target at the same time, I'm guessing.
Oh, we must have been then.
But yeah, those guys, they each had to have their own individual self-serve area. They are a mountain of men, and that's just great. And looking at this offensive line, and we don't have a lot of time to get into it, and so we'll keep this conversation going. But I'm going to tell you, I think everybody's throwing Caden Proctor in there, and I think Caden's going to play. I think that what we saw last year was a precursor to Wolford's coaching ability. We talked a little bit about his ability to get guys to play tougher, but nobody's talking about his ability to keep a Booker engaged last year. And then now you have a guard coming back who can play. And I know this is going to sound really crazy, guys. I know it's going to sound really crazy. Really, really, really crazy. Dalcourt is playing guard. Don't sleep on Dalcourt. I'm not saying this. I'm just saying sometimes when styles of offense change, other guys become better. McLaughlin, to me, has been a more cerebral, smarter player, and he's a little bit quicker. So in an RPO-led offense, he becomes a better run blocker because he's more athletic and get up there. But if you call run plays, and Dalcourt has been taught by Wolford to keep his butt down, and you're calling run plays, then that advantage of getting to the linebackers is nullified a little bit on McLaughlin. So don't sleep on Dalcourt competing at that center position, because I think what you're going to see is I think Caden Proctor is going to end up being that left tackle, and I don't think they're going to be able to keep Elijah Pritchett off the field. I think Pritchett. I think Pritchett can either become that tackle, or Pritchett becomes the tackle and Proctor becomes the guard, or vice versa. In some form or fashion, Latham, Pritchett, and Proctor are going to be the tackles and the guards. And then you got Booker. And I'm telling you, I love that offensive line, whether it's McLaughlin or Dalcourt at center, Pritchett, Booker, Latham, Proctor, some variation of those guys, those 6 guys. And that's not even counting some of the other guys that may be making noise, X.
Oh, without a doubt. And I want to correct. I got some new information about that. JC right now is probably going to stay at right tackle with Pritchett at left tackle. And Proctor right now has been mostly backing up JC as that second team right tackle. So it's going to be interesting to see. And we've also seen in the offensive line where he's going Pritchett, Terrence Ferguson at guard, Dalcourt at center, Booker, Latham. That has been another combination that they've been running with the ones a good bit. So it is going to be interesting to see how the philosophy changes and if that ends up with Dalcourt at center or if that ends up with McLaughlin at center. But right now it's either McLaughlin or Ferguson.
Yeah, and what I would tell you is this. I think Wolford showed last year he will get you on the field if you can contribute.
That is something me and Joe talked about yesterday, how Booker was that swing, he was the rotational guy. So it's going to be interesting. I think Proctor would be that guy this year. And whether that's behind him, I don't think you're going to see JC off the field much. But if he ever needs a spot rest, that's who you come in. But you could potentially see that with Pritchett and Proctor in that type of role at that left tackle spot.
I don't think you put Proctor ultimately behind the guy that you're not going to sub much. I think Proctor ends up being in the guard. If he's going to be the role guy, I think it's a lot easier to roll your guards in than it is to tackles. But I think after an off season, a spring, and a summer, don't be surprised when we come back this fall that there's not a whole nother shakeup out there. And I'm telling you, either way, Alabama's offensive line with the play calling should be good. But coming back on the other side, we will get Hank South 247 Sports back in. X and Hank will take you down the recruiting trail. I jump in there occasionally and add a little bit of color to it. But stay tuned for more recruiting news right here on the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier.
This is a Town Square Media Tide 100.9 Sports Update.
I'm Kim Rankin with your Tide Sports Update. Alabama wide receiver Ja'Cory Brooks spoke on that viral touchdown catch that circulated social media. 4-star class of 2024 wide receiver Mario Craver has narrowed his schools down to 10.
This has been a Town Square Media Tide 100.9 Sports Update. Run it again! For more info on these stories and more, download the Tide 100.9 app. Tide 100.9 Traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks. Everything pretty quiet on the roadways this Thursday morning. Of course, if you do see conditions, please give me a call, 205-886-8886. Townsend Nissan is paying top dollar for your current car, truck, or SUV because the values are all-time high. The Save-a-thon is underway and BJ's making deals at Townsend Nissan. I'm Captain Ray.
You know what happens in a plasma chamber?
Big stuff. Science stuff.
Diamonds. I'm Tom Osmond. Fincher & Osmond Jewelers carries artisan-created diamonds.
Earth and human safe.
And bigger. Lots bigger.
Fincher & Osmond diamonds from the mines or artisan-created diamonds.
They're all diamonds.
If you want to give her the big stuff, you've got to see these diamonds.
FincherandOsmond.com. A little tricky to find on McFarland Boulevard between Edgar's and Local Roots.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. But not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
It's the Tuscaloosa Community Calendar, powered by Pepsi.
The Alabama One Aspire Foundation is offering free American Red Cross first aid and CPR training classes to the West Alabama community. The plan is to have at least 60 people certified by year end. All instructors are American Red Cross staff, and all materials are provided. Lunch will also be provided. Please join us as we learn to save a life, one compression at a time. Get details at alabamaonefoundation.org/CPR.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
When you're rolling Charmin Ultra Soft on the potty, this is more, so roll it back, everybody. Charmin's irresistibly soft and hella nice. The grip is always soft. It's our party vibe. She's crushing things so our cheeks feel flat. So every booty wanna touch the sky.
Charmin Ultra Soft is irresistibly soft and more absorbent, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
The Tuscaloosa Mayor's Cup 5K for pre-K will be April 29th at 8 a.m. in downtown Tuscaloosa. For more information or to register, go to TuscaloosaMayorsCup.com. That's www.TuscaloosaMayorsCup.com.
It's time for the Martin Houston Show. With the same hard-hitting, no-nonsense approach in which he played the game, Martin will take you inside the locker room, down on the field, and across the goal line with his in-depth analysis.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by MaX Sports. We are getting ready to kick off some recruiting, talking with Hank South of 247 Sports and Bama Online Recruiting. How are you doing this morning, Hank?
Hey, good morning, Xavier. I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. And hey, remember, if you have any questions for Hank, you can call in on the Alabama One hotline at 205-342-9904. Hank, so I'm going to hit some of the local prospects real quick in the state of Alabama. You have Kevin Riley, running back from Tuscaloosa County, who was invited and has committed to play in the Under Armour All-American game. So big news for him as he has steadily been climbing the recruiting ranks over the last 6 or 7 months after a great junior season. Any news with him as the other top running back in the state? Jamarian Burnett has committed to Auburn. Is he really the top guy Alabama's going after at that position, or is there potentially someone else from out of state?
Yeah. I mean, I think he's one of the top guys they're going after. And in terms of Jamarian Burnett's recruitment, I think they wanted to see Burnett at least camp one more time this summer. They liked him, but they weren't quite pushing for him just yet. So obviously we saw him commit to Auburn. Maybe something changes down the road. They'll decide to make a push for him, but no, Kevin Riley is a guy I think Bama thinks very highly of. I think they would like to sign him. So, I think he's among the top running back prospects on their board. There's some other guys. Jarrett Gibson's another one. Taylor Tatum out of Texas, and a handful of others. So, I think that's going to be a position we see, Bama really look out for this spring once the coaches get back on the road in a couple weeks with the evaluation period. And then obviously summer camp can always shuffle up things on the board as well. But no, Kevin Riley, definitely, I think, he has, priority status in terms of the running back targets right now for Alabama.
Okay. And then you have TJ Banks, Northridge. He was at Northridge, 4-star DB. He is now at Hillcrest. Have you talked to him about that move, and how does potentially transferring impact his recruitment with Alabama?
Yeah, no, we did actually, because we had to change his 24/7 profile a few weeks ago when he made that move. But he's been taking a lot of visits this spring. I think he was at Oklahoma, Florida State. I want to say he went to Auburn. He's supposed to be at Alabama at some point this month. I don't think a date set yet, but I think TJ Banks is a guy that Bama, of course, likes. He camped last summer. He got the offer last spring, I think. So he's been on the radar for a long time. Obviously, he's very nearby and can get to Bama pretty easily. So I similar to Burnett, maybe not a huge push yet, but I think a guy that obviously they really, really like and, are going to have their eye on this spring, this summer, and potentially, make a push for him here in the coming
Hey,
months.
let me follow up on TJ Banks. What y'all need to recognize is I coached TJ as a freshman. I discovered that talent, just so y'all know. I really did coach him. Uh, is he still being recruited just as a DB? Is he an athlete or is he a running back? I mean, the guy is super talent, and if I was coaching him, I probably would play him at running back because I think he fits this new mold of guy like I think he'd be a bigger version of Jamar Gibbs, but he can also play several positions in the defensive backfield or wide receiver. So he's that talented.
Yeah, and I think that's what kind of maybe is keeping Bama, wanting to see him more. Maybe they want to work him out on both sides of the ball this summer, or see what he's doing this spring. Because there's definitely interest there. Like you said, he's a really special athlete. So I think he's going to be a guy they really focus on a lot this year with him being so close by. You don't want to lose out on those recruitments if you want these kids in your backyard. So I think that's kind of part of the intrigue and question in terms of what they're looking to get answered with Banks.
Okay, and of course, so covering those two guys, we did get a commitment for the 2025 class in Mason Short this weekend. How big of a get is that for him? And of course, one of our big time viewers, Blind Squirrel Sports, he's a Georgia fan. He wants to know, is there any chance that Georgia can flip Mason Short back and keep him home in the state?
Oh man, it's too early to start answering those questions with the Georgia flips. I'm still like recovering from Justice Haynes stuff, but it's funny. His name is Mason Short, and he's 6'7", 280. The name doesn't quite match the profile, but it's a huge get. He's a borderline 5-star offensive lineman, a guy that we've really seen these guys, these kind of big, physical, and also at the same time versatile linemen be guys that Eric Wolford really covets. Not even the new offensive line coach, Bama's offensive line coach since he's joined the staff. We saw him go after guys like Miles McVay last class, Olaus Alinen, Raquez McElderry. So there's kind of a profile that he looks for on the offensive line, and Mason Short was exactly that. He camped last summer, so Wolford and Saban, they've all seen him up close in person. He's been back on campus several times in the last 6 months, and decided the Bama was the pick, and it's huge. You beat out in-state Georgia. He was looking at I want to say what's the other Tennessee, Auburn, some of those schools, a lot of SEC programs that were in on him. So that's a huge get. 2025 is still a ways away. So obviously we'll see if he takes visits. Most of these kids do, so you never want to rule anything out. But I think he's been to Bama. I think he's done enough of these college visits and kind of been around the recruiting circuit enough to have a pretty good feel for what he wants to do. You kind of look at those recruitments where kids, take one visit to a school and commit, and then, they've been nowhere else. And so that kind of raises more of a, question of, will they stick? But I think Mason Short, he's a guy that's traveled all over in this early time in his recruitment even. So I think he's pretty set in his decision. So, we'll see. But, huge get. I think Bama is number 2 in the country now in the 2025 class with Short and Ryan Williams. So they're doing really good. Obviously it's 2025, so everyone wants to know about the 2024 kids, but definitely that's another loaded class that Bama looks like they're taking a jump on. There?
Hey, no audio from X.
Sorry about that. Air Nolan getting ready to commit. Is there any way Alabama signs 2 quarterbacks again in this class, especially with the youth of the position that Alabama has right now and the potential race that this quarterback position is having right now. Potentially Milroe transferring, potentially Ty transferring if they don't win this job. So is this potentially another 2 quarterback class?
I do think it is potentially that, and like you said, I think the transfer portal, that's probably going to dictate. And I'm not saying, there's word of anybody looking to transfer. You just never know. Everything could change on a week by week basis. So I think looking at it right now with the quarterback room they have, I don't think there's the plan to take 2 quarterbacks. You got Julian Sayin. Bama's very happy with Julian Sayin. He's very happy with Bama, so everything's working out well there. But again, after the spring ends or, whatever happens, later this year, if someone transfers out or looks elsewhere, then yeah, I think the staff might want to look seriously at taking another quarterback. So that leaves, Aaron Nolan's kind of that next man up, it looks like, in terms of the guys they're actually interested in. And he's supposed to commit, is it the 7th, I think, either tomorrow or Saturday. I think it's the 7th is his commitment date. So, I don't expect anything to change in terms of, Bama happy with one quarterback right now. So I think he will probably commit elsewhere later this week. But that doesn't mean, Bama couldn't change his mind later on if they decide to push. Obviously, we saw that happen with Mac Jones in the class 2017 in terms of second quarterbacks. Tua had committed and Mac Jones was committed to Kentucky. Then he went through for Lane Kiffin and the staff in the summer and changed his mind and flipped to Bama. Obviously, we've seen Bama flip guys like Bryce Young. So, just because someone commits doesn't mean it's over. I just don't think that big push for a second quarterback in this class is there quite yet.
All right, we're joined with Hank Southon of Alabama Online and 247 Sports. We have Pat joining us on the Alabama One Hotline. Pat, welcome into the show.
Good morning, guys. Hank, I want to talk about edge rushers today. Jordan Ross out of the Vestavia Hills, Dylan Stewart out of Washington, D.C., and Jamonte Walker out of Picayune, Mississippi. Out of those 3, is there any chance that Alabama gets a pair of bookends?
I think if I was picking out of those 3, I like the chances for Waller. And I think Ross eventually. Dylan Stewart was a guy earlier this spring, had some buzz with Alabama. I think Ohio State may have kind of the momentum there right now. But again, these kids haven't even taken official visits. For early April, things can change. But looking at it right now, I think Jamonte Waller out of Mississippi, he's a guy that really, really likes Alabama. We caught up with him in Atlanta a few weeks ago at the Under Armour camp to talk about Bama. And, he at that point, he had only taken one visit in his recruitment, and it was to Penn State. And so he was really liking Penn State. Obviously, it was the only school he visited. But since then, he's been all over. He's been to Bama, Auburn. I think he's on a tour right now, like on a spring break. He's at Ole Miss, Tennessee, Georgia. He's going to all these schools, this week. So maybe he's getting more of a feel of where things stand. But I think when he took that junior day visit to Bama earlier or last month, I think that really stood out to him. I think he's really he really likes Kevin Steele, really likes Freddie Roach, he really likes Coleman Hutzler, and he's actually close friends with Justin Jefferson, the junior college transfer linebacker on Bama's roster now. So I think that's one to watch. Jordan Ross, he got that Bama offer earlier this year. Another guy we caught up with in person 2 weeks back. And he's really liking the relationship he's building with the staff. There's a lot of buzz about him maybe, leaving the state and doing his own thing, but he actually grew up an Auburn fan, but now he's obviously thrown that out and he's looking at everyone pretty equally. But I think he really likes Alabama. His family really likes Alabama. He said he was the black sheep of the family, and he went in against that was an Auburn fan. So we'll see if that plays any role in looking at schools now. But another guy that visited for junior day, he'll be back, I believe, for A-Day in a few weeks. So in good shape there. But yeah, all 3 of those guys are big targets. So I wouldn't be shocked to see any of them end up at Bama. But if I was picking a pair of bookends, I think Waller and Ross could be a good projection right now.
Got you. That I'm just saying this worries me a little bit with Justin. With Jordan Ross having Auburn orange in his hair, bless his heart. All right. Y'all have a great day. I'll try to get a better question next week.
Hey, don't forget, Reuben Foster had an Auburn tattoo.
That is true.
Yep.
so you can change the hair color. Go ahead, Hags.
That is true. So just flipping over to basketball real quick as we get ready to wrap things up. I think there's been a lot of moves, guys going to the NBA draft, guys transferring out. But there's been a couple big names connected to Alabama as far as the transfer portal coming in. And I know one of those names is BJ Mack. Have you heard anything? He's got Alabama in his top 5, getting ready to make a decision. Is there any other names out there that Bama fans should be paying attention to that could be a part of this 2023-2024 team?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch. I know the contact or the recruiting period opens up today, so it's probably going to come even more fast and flying in terms of information. But yeah, it seems like every time you turn around, someone's entering the portal, someone's making a decision. Bama's talking to somebody new, and obviously, they're still working on putting together their staff and filling those 2 vacancies from Charlie Henry and Brian Hodgson. So that's also part of everything going on. So it's a pretty hectic period for basketball. But yeah, BJ Mack, Bama's in the top 5. He's taking an official visit to Alabama, not this weekend, but next weekend. So we'll see him on campus there, and what Bama can do, and see if they can get him on board in terms of this class. There's been a handful of they've been talking to Denver Jones. He's an Alabama native. I think that's probably Bama versus Auburn for him in terms of where he's going to end up if he comes home from Florida International. Aaron Estrada is a new name. I believe he's a guard from Hofstra. He just entered the portal, and Bama's already made contact with him. So we'll see if a visit gets set up there. The Oregon transfer, Khalil Ware, I think is his name. He's been a big center from Oregon that Bama's been in contact with. And there's been some other guys like Minifield. He committed to Arkansas. That Bama was working on, and a few other guys committed elsewhere. But I'm sure more names will pop up. The transfer portal, I feel like, is just it feels like it's just heating up in terms of guys entering it. But obviously, they got Jake Walton already, and we'll see where they go from there.
All right, Hank, we appreciate you always coming in, breaking everything down for us, giving us all the information we need. Can you let everybody know where they can find you, sir?
Yeah, thanks for having me. BamaOnline.com, and my Twitter handle is @HankSouth247.
All right, that is Hank South at 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting, and we will be back with for the Harvest Church 2-minute warning after this.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Thursday morning. West Alabama Democrat Congresswoman Terry Sewell has secured $1.1 million for the Tom Bigby Healthcare Authority. It operates Whitfield Regional Hospital in Demopolis. The money will go toward providing more resources for education for current and future healthcare professionals across the Black Belt. Whitfield Regional is currently the only hospital that specializes in trauma, stroke, and labor and delivery in the Black Belt. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage. It's free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. If you're looking for a way to add value to your home, make your flower beds pop, make your landscaping stand out from your neighbors, then Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing can help you do just that. They have numerous styles, but they feature the Moroccan Stone Curb series, which includes 4 great styles and unlimited color choices. That's Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. They are the one that can help you stand out from your neighbors. Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing, 205-331-6823. You may also find yourself with the need for a custom size stone or custom shaped stone. Then Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing can help with that as well. Paul Fuller and his team are waiting on your call right now for that free quote. And if you're telling that Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show told you to stop by, you'll get a big discount. So call Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing at 205-331-6823
or visit them online at Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing, LLC.
Stephen Mesrano wins. The Mesrano law firm recently obtained a $7 million settlement for an injured client. He'll win for you 205-800-8000. 205-800-8000. Stephen Mesrano.
Come out and celebrate over 35 years of Sawyer Brown.
Days on the road and I'm gonna make it home tonight.
Sawyer Brown, live in concert. Saturday, May 27th, 8 p.m. Pearl River Resort Silver Star Convention Center.
The race is on and here comes pride in the back.
On sale now. Purchase tickets at PearlRiverResort.com. Sawyer Brown, only at Pearl River Resort Silver Star Convention Center.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language, like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back in to the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. That was great. Great recruiting there. Conversation with Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. We got a great show lined up for you tomorrow, so I want to invite you to come back for a free-for-all Friday, Flashback Friday, where we can go back and hit topics from this week, as well as any topic that may be on your mind. You're always welcome to send us those topics at Martin Houston 35 on Twitter. You can post them on the Facebook pages here, or you can also tweet XO Sports on Twitter as well. And we'll incorporate that into the conversation. Part of what I want to talk about tomorrow, I teased it a little bit the last couple of days, is, we're not talking about Will Anderson. We're not talking about Will Anderson being replaced, right? We haven't really talked about that. We've been a lot of conversation on Bryce Young, but Will Anderson and his leadership will be huge. Is Chris Braswell the guy that's going to take that role? He seems to be as kind of the vocal side. We know what Dallas Turner's done the last 2 years. Those two guys can be special, but which one of these other guys is going to step up from the linebacker rank? X, we can break that down. We got a lot of new candidates for both inside and outside. Will Campbell go back to outside, or will he stay and battle inside? Is Jefferson and Marshall going to come in and, we're off tomorrow. Tomorrow's Good Friday, so we won't be back tomorrow. We'll talk about it on Monday. We'll also have a scrimmage to talk about on Monday. So for all of our listeners out there, I teased y'all. That's what you call a long-term tease. We'll see you guys on Monday for tomorrow's Good Friday, and also we have Easter. I like to refer to Resurrection Sunday. And as I said at the beginning of the show, I want to invite you to join us at Harvest Church. Harvest Church, loving God, loving people. We'd love to have you as a part of our congregation on that Sunday. But hey, if you can't make it to us, man, find somewhere to be in on Sunday, and maybe we'll catch you at Harvest Church. But if not, we'll catch you on Monday. And we'll be talking more Alabama football, have a little more action to talk about. We'll talk about these linebackers. We'll talk about these running backs and these big, nasty offensive and defensive linemen. Hey, that's Xavier Houston. I'm Martin Houston. That's Aiden Dollins. We do it every day, Monday through Friday from 6 to 7 a.m. on the Martin Houston Show with powered by MaX Sports. Remember this, trust in the Lord always. You don't understand. All your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Roll Tide out to everybody, and happy Easter and Resurrection Sunday.
It's a celebration.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.